welcome to episode 57 of Fluffy Fibres, the French podcast in English on sewing, knitting and spinning a handmade wardrobe from head to toe, even though there hasn't been that much spinning lately, sadly. Hello everyone, and thank you so very much for joining me today. My name is Isabelle, and you can find me on Instagram and Ravelry as Fluffy Fibres, and you will find the show notes for this episode as for each and every other of the 56 previous episodes on my blog, which is fluffyfibres.com. And you can also find a group for the podcast on Ravelry if you search for Fluffy Fibres podcast. So again, thank you so very much for joining me today. Today is February the 23rd, 2018. It's a very cold day here in France, as I believe in pretty much everywhere in Europe, and probably also in a lot of other places in the Northern Hemisphere as well. So I just figured it was a lovely day to wear a cozy jumper and chat with you about, you know, all the warm knitting. So yes, this is going to be a knitting episode. I've been really enjoying devoting one episode to sewing and then, you know, alternating between knitting and sewing episodes. So today's episode will include my cup of tea, a handmade wardrobe, finished objects, current projects, future projects, and then Happy Mail Day, and then a little bit of chatter about some of my plans and the way I'm envisioning 2018. So yes, I do feel like I have a lot to talk about, especially as I was gathering up everything. I just realised how long it had been since I had last done a knitting episode, and it's always the case, isn't it? I just always want to record more often, and it just doesn't happen because I have a lot of work, and I have a lot of wonderful work actually. I'm very excited about what I'm doing, and so between that and of course a very full family life with my two children and my husband. My children are 6, my daughter turned 6 last Thursday, if you can imagine that, and my little son is 19 months now. So yes, we are a very busy family, obviously, and so the days are never long enough and the weeks are never long enough for me to do everything I want to do. But yeah, anyway, here I am today. I'm very happy to be here with you today, to have finally managed to grab a little bit of time on this very beautifully sunny Friday afternoon after doing a fair amount of work this week. And so to chat about all the knitting with you. So yes, first of all, for my cup of tea today, I am enjoying something that I really enjoy drinking at the moment, and it is this, and it is an infusion from the English tea shop, which I really like. I really like this brand, and so this is herbal tea with it's called Cranberry Vanilla Delight. It's one of my favourites. So it's hibiscus with rosehip, cocoa, vanilla and cranberry. It's really nice, and it's all organic as well, so that's of course a huge plus. So yes, they've started selling this in France, which is quite exciting. Anyway, I've started to find this in Montpellier, probably already sold in France, you know, at other places. But I finally found a little shop that sells them for actually quite a reasonable price as well, so that's very nice. Yes, so for a handmade wardrobe today, I'm going to talk about it later actually. I'm wearing Kazahana, which is one of my finished objects. And for events, I just wanted to mention again that I'm going to the Edinburgh Yarn Festival, which is going to be in mid-March, so of course the excitement is mounting, and I'm just super happy to be going, yeah, and to be meeting so many wonderful friends that I have known and connected with online for a long time. I'm very excited to be meeting some of you, and I do want, if you do plan on attending and if you would like to connect with me, I'm going to open a thread on my Ravelry group, so you could just say you're going to be attending, and I can just make a note because it seems it's going to be so very busy, you know. I just watched my good friend Erin's Holland Handmaids podcast, and she just mentioned doing this because she's also going to be at Edinburgh, which I'm so happy about. And so she just mentioned she's going to do that on her group on Ravelry, and I just thought that was a fabulous idea. So I'm just stealing that idea. I'm sure Erin, you will be okay with that. But yeah, it's just going to be an amazing time. I'm also very excited because a friend from Montpellier is also going, so it's going to be really lovely to be there together as well. So Louise, hello Louise if you're watching. So yes, Louise, who is actually American but lives here in southern France, she is going to be attending, so it's going to be extra fun, I think. So yes, that's really pretty much I think everything I wanted to mention. I did mention last time I recorded that I am extremely fortunate in having been selected as one of the podcasters for the Podcast Lounge hosted by Black Yarns, and it's all organised by Louise of Knit British. And it's, as Louise made clear, it's very much a platform for everyone to attend. It's just a place where you can meet your podcasters, and it can be the podcasters, you know, the official podcasters that were selected, but also any podcaster who wants to join, really. It's of course very open to anyone from the podcasting community and obviously listening to or watching podcasts. So yes, I think it's going to be completely wonderful. So let's move on now to my finished objects. So first of all, what I'm wearing. So this is the Kazahana pullover by Eri, who is the Japanese designer. I just adore her style. I really love everything she makes. I love the colour choices she makes. I think everything is so elegant, you know. It really has a simple elegance to her designs have a simple elegance to them. So she is Eri TML on Instagram if you do want to follow her. She has a beautiful Instagram feed as well. Very serene, very soothing Instagram feed. And so I did do a few modifications. So the Kazahana is a top-down yoke sweater with a circular yoke. Not sure what yoke sweater might mean, but anyway, it has a circular yoke and it has this beautiful wild oats stitch at the yoke. I do hope you can see that well. And so the changes I made was I changed the length of it. I made it really, really quite long. It's supposed to be, you know, quite quite short like this. So yes, and so I did do some changes to the shape, obviously, to accommodate for, you know, the pullovers hitting at my hips, even, you know, at the bottom of my hips, really. The major alteration I did was to the sleeves, because I lengthened them considerably. They're supposed to, I think, to be 3/4 sleeves. So I added decreases, and yes, and the sleeve I don't think they had any decrease. So I did add some decreases all along, and for the hem of the sleeves, for the edging, I tried doing what was suggested by the pattern, but it just wasn't looking right. So instead, what I did was take the pattern from the hem at the bottom and just do, I think, half in length, half in the number of rows of rounds, really. And then I bound off the same as for the hem. And I really like the result here. I really, really like the effect. So yes, as for the yarn, this is some of my absolute favourite yarn. It's Dere Room Natura and Dere Room Natura, and it's the Gilliatt weight, which is their worsted weight, and it's in the Aster colourway, which I absolutely love. I just love all of their colourways, really. Each of them is just more beautiful than the last, but this one is this dusky mauve, I would say, really, you know, this sort of you know, smoky, smoky dusky purple, which I really, really like. And yeah, it's a very cozy wool. It's 100% you know, ecological wool. The sheep are all, you know, they're almost raised organically, really. I think they have all, they're organic all in all but the label, really. It's a very ethical mill and farm that grows these sheep in the middle of France. So I'm very, very attached to Des Rerum Natura. If you've watched the podcast before, I'm sure you're very well aware of this, and you might be a little sick of hearing me talk about it. And spoiler alert, I'm going to talk about it some more in my current projects as well. I think I knit this on 5mm needles. Yeah, this was actually my last project of 2017. I finished this. I think I finished this on the train to my mother's, actually, for where we went for Christmas. So yes, it's and we did take the pictures in my parents' garden in the north of France. So yeah, so yes, so my second finished project is my first project of 2018, and it's another garment. You know how much I love making garments, and honestly that's pretty much everything I make. That's the vast majority of what I make now, because I'm so very keen on just, you know, enriching my wardrobe and my children's wardrobes as well. So yes, so this actually is very, very much part of my efforts to have a completely 100% handmade wardrobe. And of course, no wardrobe, or at any case my wardrobe would not be complete without a black cardigan. And so I had been meaning to knit a completely black, true black cardigan for ages, and I finally did it. And so here it is. So this is the Love's Promise by Agata Makiewicz, who is a Manity Knits on Instagram, and she's an absolute sweetheart. I really, really like her. And I love her style. She's Polish, and yes, so this is a design I actually already knit before in a grey, so another good basic, and I really, really loved knitting this design. And it's very rare for me to be knitting a design twice over, but I had absolutely no qualm in knitting this one twice, because I really, really loved making the first one. I wear my grey one a ton, and I knew, because this was a black cardigan, I wanted to make sure I would be enjoying the actual pattern, you know, to make sure I wouldn't get bored. So that was a good choice actually in this respect. So as you can see, I hope you can see, because this is all black, so I'm not sure how well this will show on screen. Hopefully it will show. But as you can see here, you have this lovely line of lace at the sides, really, as if, you know, which is mimicking a seam, really. Yeah, so apart from that, this is an open front cardigan, which is supposed to be very cropped. I made mine a little longer because I really did want this to be an absolute basic. And in my wardrobe it did feel better for it to be a little bit longer, so I could wear it with trousers as well, which is what I did this week actually to go to work. And yes, I can absolutely confirm that this is a great basic. And also the change I did again was to lengthen the sleeves. I think you're supposed to have, again, 3/4 sleeves, but I did mine really, really long again, because I just feel that that's actually my one regret with my first Love's Promise, is that it has 3/4 sleeves. And often I think I would wear it even more if it had longer sleeves, so I could wear it over my long sleeves dresses and tops or blouses, not just the short sleeved one or the 3/4 sleeved ones. So yes, so this was really designed all for, you know, in terms of filling a gap in my wardrobe, in my handmade wardrobe, and it certainly does. And so the yarn I absolutely adore, and it's another good ethical ecological yarn, because it is the Wensleydale by West Yorkshire Spinners. So here is the label, and so it's their Wensleydale Gems. They have this lovely collection that is called Gems because all the colours in it, I surmised that that was because all the colours in the collection are vibrant and gorgeous and really jewel-like. And so, but this one is the black, and I had a very, very hard time. I really wanted this to be in a, you know, very natural yarn, you know, from a, you know, definitely not superwash, and you know, from an easy traceable, you know, source really. And I had a very hard time finding a true black yarn, a completely black, pitch black yarn, in natural, you know, among natural wools. So I had to look at blacker first, actually blacker yarns, and I just couldn't find a true black. Or anyway, not in the weight that I was looking for. This is a DK. And so yes, in the end I did find this from West Yorkshire Spinners, and I absolutely adore the yarn. It's so, I hope you can see the drape really. I'm going to try and actually wear, you know, put this on so you can see how it looks. So, I'm not sure how well you will see because I'm wearing something black underneath, which is kind of a shame, but yeah, it has a beautiful drape. It's really lovely, and yeah, I was really impressed with the quality of this yarn. And what I love about this is just how incredibly warm it feels. I can't quite express. I'm not sure how I can express this, but I don't know about you, but don't you feel that some wools are warmer to the touch? You know, directly the second you touch it. Some wools will, or some material will feel a lot warmer than others, and this one definitely feels very warm, you know, just as you touch it. And so it was the perfect winter knit really in this respect. It was just so, you know, just such a tactile delight to knit. And so in the end, you know, I remember how very concerned I was that I might really find knitting this pitch black cardigan very boring. In the end, I absolutely adored every single stitch of it. First of all, because I really loved the design, and secondly, because there was something so incredibly comforting in handling this yarn, and it's really just beautifully shiny, drapey yarn. So yeah, Wensleydale is a really nice breed of sheep to knit from if you haven't tried it before. So yes, all that being said, I do have, I must say I'm not 100% in love with it, because the sleeves are very tight, and so when I have a very tight sleeve underneath, it's okay. This one is really okay. But for instance, yesterday I wore this to work. I actually took a pictures in my stories on Instagram, and you can find it in my, it's one of the stories I highlighted, I archived, so you can find actually this story in my on my Instagram profile under the heading Handmade Wardrobe. And so I was wearing my Susie blouse by Sew Over It London underneath, and so which is in a viscose, and it has 3/4 length sleeves, and because it's a blouse, it's not from a knit, it is actually quite you know, it's more it's not completely tight on it, you know, it's not it doesn't have any negative ease, so it has actually a little bit of positive ease, and it was such a pain. I kept all day I kept having to put the cardigan back on my shoulders. I'm not having this problem right now because again I'm wearing something very tight fitting underneath, but I'm quite disappointed in this respect because again I really was seeing this as a perfect wardrobe staple, but as it turns out it's not going to be this, you know, constant item basic that I can reach for, because it's not going to go over every single one of my garments, which is a bit of a shame. So I might actually knit maybe also a bulkier sweater, perhaps a bulkier cardigan, slightly bulkier, in the month to come, in a, again, very, you know, maybe not the black one, but maybe a very dark grey. Kristin of Woolen Vine Yarns, hi Kristin, is currently knitting a very, very dark black cardigan as well out of her Grim colourway, since Kristin of course is the dyer behind Wood and Vine yarns, and so yes, that I figured that would be a nice one as well. So we'll see. But yeah, also about the yarn, yeah, so it is supposedly DK weight, and when I received it, and indeed, you know, in terms of the grist of the yarn, I would say the yardage per weight ratio, it is definitely a DK, since it's 225 meters for 100 grams, okay, but I was very surprised when I received it and caked it up. The yarn definitely felt more like a fingering weight yarn, and actually it was less plump than some of my other, you know, some fingering weight yarn that I was actually knitting at the same time. So that's okay, and that's also actually a reason why I chose this design, because initially I wanted to have a true DK cardigan, but the Love's Promise is designed for a fingering weight to light sports weight cardigan yarn, and so that's a reason why I eventually settled on the Love's Promise, because that there was no way I could have knit an actual DK design with this, even though it did bloom wonderfully upon washing. It definitely bloomed a lot, but still it has this gorgeous halo as well, which I didn't mention, which I do hope you can see. But yeah, so I really love it. I'm very happy I made it. I really do love this design by Amanita Knits, but it's just that the sleeves are really, really tight fitting, which is quite nice, you know, to some extent. I really like the look of it, but I can't wear everything I'd like to underneath. So yes, we'll see if I decide to make another very basic, you know, black or very dark cardigan in the future. So in terms of the nitty-gritty really of this design, I knit this on 3.5mm needles, which is a size 4, I believe, a US size 4, apart from the, you know, the garter stitch and the ribbed hem that I did, edging that I did, which I knit on 3mm needles. And also, yes, I wanted to mention I did change the sleeves yet again, because you do have a lovely sort of a lovely cuff with the initial design with a pleat, which I did in my first one and I really love it. But because this one hits me at the wrist, I just did a very simple 2x2 rib for the edging for the sleeves. But the rest of the edgings are garter stitch. But I really like this design. You know, the pattern has you go down one size for the garter stitch, which I think has a much neater look to it, really. So yeah, that was a detail I really liked. And as far as the time this took me to knit, I started this is really a special one actually, because I cast it on during our Christmas holidays, and I remember very well we were at my parents', and so I cast it on, and I spent a lot of, you know, it was sometimes spent, you know, chatting with my mother and having just a really very comforting time, I should say, chatting together about my father and so forth. So yeah, that's a very you know, special cast on in this respect as well. And I knitted in exactly a month, since I cast it on December the 28th, and I cast it off, I bound off on the 29th of January. So that is definitely my first project, my first garment for January, for 2018. So yes, but after this very basic cardigan, in terms of colour, this very neutral cardigan, now it's time for a riot of colours for the rest of the podcast, since I'm going to be mentioning all my current and future projects. So first of all, I did want to mention my Christmas Eve cast on, because actually, since the last time I podcast was before Christmas, in terms of knitting, my last knitting podcast was before Christmas. I did mention Danny's beautiful design Twas the Night Before Christmas, and we actually had a lovely giveaway for this, thanks to Danny, but I didn't show you my progress. So I did cast on Christmas Eve, and it was a lovely, lovely time as well. And so I'm having this in my toile de Jouy little bag that I made years ago because it seems to, I think it matches quite well the actual yarn that I'm using. The yarn is a Homespun House. Let me see if I have the tag. I don't think so. No, I don't. It's a Homespun House Christmas at Hogwarts yarn colourway, which she did as a club. So it was just this one colourway in the club. So you can see the beautiful yarn over here. Yes, so I have to confess I haven't made a huge amount of progress on it because really I was very determined to knit on my garments. That's really the one reason. So this is my first sock and I have reached, I turned the heel and I'm not now just knitting on the foot. So it wouldn't take me long to finish really because I don't have very long feet. So but yeah, and I really do love the design. It was an absolute joy to knit. So all the little trees, and then now I'm just knitting on the tiny trunk, and yeah, so I just need to find some time to knit on them and just to devote some time to them rather, and to cast the second one on as well. And for these I'm using the new Addy Crazy Trios, and I did mention them last time I recorded a knitting podcast, and I told you I would report back on them, and I have to say I really like them actually. I know people are very, you know, you have a vast variety of responses to them really. Personally, I am a DPN knitter and I really like them because they really are like DPNs, you just have two of them. So the first, I don't know, the first couple of inches or so was rather fiddly, but then I just got used to them, and yeah, I really like them. I really do like them. I like that there's, actually I'm not sure I do like that, but you have a more pointy tip at one end than the other. And actually I find I would have liked to have the two ends to be really pointy because especially you have a little bit of lace here. So I always have to be careful. When I was knitting the trees, I had to be really careful, really mindful of the way in which I was, you know, what tip I was inserting first, so that I would be actually knitting with the sharpest tip. But yeah, I really do like them. You know, they have this flexible cable, so yeah, they do take a little bit of time to get used to, but I completely understand why magic loop knitters may not be enjoying them as much, because they're very different. I really don't enjoy knitting magic loop for my socks or for anything else for that matter really. So for me they're really nice. So yeah, if you're on the fence about them, I would say if you enjoy knitting with DPNs, they might be for you. But I'm not so sure if you're rather a magic loop knitter, because I think you just, I think most people who knit magic loop just find DPNs fiddly, and I think you would find these even fiddlier, honestly. My 2 cents really, but yeah. But I'm really happy I have them and I really enjoy using them. So yeah, positive review from, you know, from me anyway. So yes, I really do need to get back to this, especially as Danny just came out with her new sock design, which is absolutely lovely. The collection is called The Vintage Love Story, and the first design is called the Cyril socks, because you really have to go and see Danny's story behind it, because it's quite a meaningful and lovely story. But it's based on her engagement ring, which is a ring from the 1920s and has Cyril and Rita engraved on it. And so I'm just completely amazed with the way that she managed to transfer her ring onto a knitting design. And on top of that, it's a beautifully unisex design, and so I really want to knit them. I really absolutely want to knit them. I need to rummage through my stash and see what yarn I will use for them, but I really want to knit them for Seb actually, because I think he would love them. I would love them as well actually, but I just want to knit a new pair of socks for Seb. He absolutely loves his hand knit socks, And so yeah, so yes, that will be something that I maybe will be knitting on at the Edinburgh Yarn Festival, because there seemed to be more mindless than the Twas the Night Before Christmas socks in terms of the pattern repeats. So I think I do feel that once you've memorised the pattern, you can really knit all night on chat at the same time, hopefully. So we'll see. But yeah, that's one of my plans really. And Danny was very kind and actually gifted me her new pattern, which just completely made my day. So thank you so very much, Danny. I absolutely adore this design. I was going to buy it anyway. But yeah, it's even more special because you gave it to me. So my next project is my Windfall jumper, my Windfall sweater, which again is a very, very special project, very, very meaningful for me in many respects. Firstly, because it's my first colourwork project ever, my first Fair Isle project, and one of my goals for 2018, and it's probably my main knitting goal, well, it's my one knitting goal really, is to learn to knit Fair Isle. And I use Fair Isle in a loose meaning. I hope nobody is cringing here, because I definitely want to title this episode The Year of Fair Isle. And I do know, I am very aware that Fair Isle is a very specific kind of colourwork, stranded colourwork knitting, and some people even consider it can only be knit on Fair Isle in Shetland. But I'm just using the term Fair Isle rather than stranded colourwork because it's more evocative to me really than stranded colourwork. First of all, I just adore this word. I think it's just, you know, to me it's wonderfully redolent of it has so many wonderful connotations, and even the musicality of the, you know, Fair Isle and the words. It's just, and of course, you know, the exoticness really of the name. All of this for me, you know, adds, you know, makes this even more enticing. So to me it's much richer in meaning and connotations than stranded colourwork, which is a very technical word. And yeah, so, and also because for me Fair Isle is very much associated to garment knitting, and that's exactly what I'm after. What I really want to do is knit jumpers or cardigans in stranded colourwork. So my first attempt is the Windfall sweater, and you can find it in Woods, the Beautiful Woods book, which is an absolutely gorgeous book. I really hesitated purchasing it because honestly at the beginning the only pattern I wanted to knit out of it was the Windfall, and you can't find, the Windfall is not as yet available on Ravelry, and someone had asked in the comments when it would be available as an individual pattern on Ravelry, and actually Jennifer replied that it wouldn't be available for about a year. But in the end I'm really glad that I did get the book, because it's a beautiful book and it's got gorgeous designs in it and wonderful interviews, and it's all about, you know, sustainability and mindfulness in our making. So it's all in all a gorgeous book. It's not cheap, it's 34 euros, so it's definitely an investment, you know, but I'm really glad I did get it. And so Jennifer Steingass is knit period love period wool on Ravelry and Instagram, and she's very prolific in terms of designing jumpers with Fair Isle yokes. And so yes, and that's definitely one of my favourites. I love a lot of her designs, but that's definitely one of my favourites from her collection. So here is the actual design. Hopefully you can see that well. I'm using my DSLR again to film, because I really do feel the image and especially the colours, the image quality and the colours are much better than on my video camera, but it doesn't autofocus, so it's a bit frustrating in that respect. But yeah, I just figured it probably was better anyway. But yes, so it's a beautiful sweater, and so yes, this jumper is special because it's my first colourwork project. It's also special because I'm using a treasure from my stash. I'm using Cornish Din 2 by Blacker Yarns, which is their 11th anniversary yarn. So for the 10th anniversary, Blacker Yarns came out with a limited edition yarn which was Cornish Din, and it was so successful that they decided to do it again the next year. And so this is a blend of alpaca, Portland, all British yarns obviously since it's Blacker Yarns, alpaca, Portland, Saxon Merino, Jacob, Gotland, Shetland, Black Welsh Mountain, Mohair and English Merino. And so, you know, it's a very carefully curated, should I say, blend, you know, trying to combine the best of each fibre, of each, you know, breed of sheep. And so it is really, really very special. And the colours as well were completely gorgeous. And because the base, the initial, you know, the undyed yarn was, I believe, if I remember, it was grey or a very dark oatmeal, or, you know, but it was definitely a darker hue in terms of natural, you know, the natural colour of wool. And so it meant that all the colours in the range, first of all went beautifully together, but also all had this very saturated, but also, I don't know, very dusky hint to them, which I really, really liked. And so the shade I chose, of course, had to be Polguth Blue, because you know my love for teal, if you've followed me before, or if you follow my Instagram feed. My Instagram feed is pretty much, you know, well, it has a lot of teal in it, or blues, or, yeah, peacock blues, all that kind of shade. And so this is very, very, very difficult to capture on screen, actually, this blue. It's a very dark teal, so it's really a greenish blue. And I feel it's more green than blue, really. But often on the screen it's going to show as more blue than green. And I have such a hard time capturing the right shade when I'm taking a picture of this project, actually, for Instagram. But yeah, so that's the second reason why this is so special, is that because it's because I'm using a very, very precious treasure from my stash. I had 3 skeins of this, and so this is the fingering weight, the 4-ply. There was a DK version and a 4-ply version. And I'm knitting this actually to go to Edinburgh. This is going to be my Blacker, you know, it's my Blacker podcal. It's part of the Blacker podcal, so the knit along for the podcast lounge actually. So yeah, and I'm very excited to be showing this in Edinburgh, and to be showing this to the lovely people at Blacker Yarns as well. But the third reason why this is super, super special is that I'm knitting this as a knit-along, some sort of a private knit-along, personal knit-along with my very good friend Lise Taylor. And so yes, and it's been really, really lovely. We cast on the same day, we've been chatting about it, sharing our doubts, or and so on and so forth, or our frustrations, or progress, obviously. So it's been really lovely, actually. And yeah, January has been a pretty rough month for me, I will not lie, in terms of my health, and so we actually decided to cast that on a little earlier than planned, so that I could take this with me to the hospital, so that I had something really nice to look forward to as I was waiting for this hospital, this time at the hospital, and then I could knit on this and enjoy the lovely yarn. So that was really, really lovely, actually. It's a very, very meaningful knit. So yes, and the yarn is absolutely amazing. And so the contrast I'm using for this, for the white, is that you can see at the bottom, for instance. I'm not sure I even showed you that properly. I'm very sorry. It's on needles that are a bit too short, obviously. But yeah, what you can see is I've reached this is a bottom-up sweater. And so I've joined the arms, and I just started the colourwork yoke yesterday, actually. But you have a colourwork detail at the hem and at the bottom of the sleeves as well, which is the same. And so for the white, which is really more of an ecru, I'm using Dererum Natura again, but the sports weight version this time, which is called Ulysse. And this is just the undyed variety, which is called sel, meaning salt. And you also have a third colour, you know, right in the middle of the yolk. And so I chose this beautiful blue, again from Dererum Natura. So this one is called Lagoon. And so it's I really love it because it's again a warm blue, so it's got a bit of a tinge of green in it, so it really does feel like a lighter version of the Polguth Blue by Blacker Yarns. And these two, you know, these two types of yarn, the two brands really go well together because they're both woolen spun. So they have the same kind of grip and loftiness to them. And yeah, I think they really work well together. You really could, you know, I think especially this one because it's a bit mottled and there's a little bit of grey in it, so I think it's going to go really, really well with the Polguth Blue. I really hope you can see this properly. Let me see if I can try and focus on this a little. Yeah, there you go. See, I think it's going to look really nicely together, to work really nicely together. And actually the really lovely thing is, when I was, you know, searching for yarn, for contrasting yarn to go with this, I actually ordered a few skeins of Ulysse, because it's just 50 gram skeins, so I wasn't breaking the bank really. And all of them worked. All of them was working perfectly well, so that was quite a conundrum to actually choose one. I also got Sage, Sauge, but in the end, I settled on this one because the sage was a little bit lighter and I was afraid it wouldn't have enough of a contrast with the salt. So yes, in the end I went with the Lagon rather than the Sauge. But there was also the quartz, which is a light pink, a warm, like a very light coral, which is absolutely gorgeous as well. And so what's lovely is that all the other yarns as well go really well together. So that means I've got myself another colourwork yoke all ready to go. So that's really lovely actually. So yes, I just absolutely adore, again, Dererum Natura. Their colours are just gorgeous. So yes, all that being said, first of all, I have to say, I absolutely adore knitting colourwork. I absolutely love it. It's just completely addictive, and I really have to it's really hard to stop in the evening. Like yesterday, you know, on Thursday I get up at 5 to catch a train to work, and I actually go home really late, and I just wanted to knit on this. I was super tired after putting the children to bed, and instead of going to bed myself, you know, what did I do? Well, I just had to knit a couple more rows on this because I just completely love it. So yes, it's completely addictive, I'm telling you, colourwork. Yes. All that being said, however, this is a bottom-up sweater, and I really don't enjoy knitting bottom-up sweaters because you can't try them on as you go, and so I have a very hard time figuring out, you know, how long it's going to be, if I'm going to run out of yarn. And I know, you know, some people say, well, you know, with the gauge you can very easily figure out how long it's going to end up. But for me, numbers are very different from actually trying something on and seeing how it actually hangs on me and drapes and where it falls on me. You know, all this is a combination, isn't it? It's just not, it's not just you want your sweater to you know, to fall at that spot and that's it. To me, it really depends on, and from a swatch, you can't really anticipate just how much the garment is going to drape and that kind of thing, you know, not to, you know, at that scale, at such a scale. And so to me, it's just not enough to have, you know, to compute, you know, from a swatch and to compute the length and that kind of thing. I just have to go with my feeling, really, and just how I feel the garment will work on me. For instance, the Kazahana, initially I did want to make more, you know, shorter, but in the end I just felt I would really like it to be longer and to be worn over leggings. So, you know, and so the problem here is I kept second guessing myself in terms of the length and the size as well, and the shape. In the end, I didn't do any shaping. You're supposed to do some waist shaping and bust shaping. In the end, I didn't do that. I just wanted something really boxy, really. Loose-fitting, boxy. And the problem with that is that I kept, you know, from the very start, I was really concerned I would run out of yarn. And then I felt it couldn't happen. I was supposed to have a lot more than the yardage that is required for my size, and so I figured even if I didn't do the shaping, it would be okay. Well, as you can see here, I'm not sure if you can see this, but first of all, let me get this white yarn out of the way. But yeah, yes, you can see here. So I have reached the yoke, and you still have, and also I think I had underestimated how much of the main collar you still need within the yoke. To me, once you'd reached the yoke, you were pretty much safe, and you had hardly any, you know, any of that collar to knit left, apart from the very edging. But it turns out that's not quite the case. You do have, because you actually have, you know, some sort of first of all a repeat of this. These waves, these chevrons if you want, and then you move on to the third collar. So this is how much yarn I have left, and so obviously I'm not going to have enough, and so I came to the heartbreaking realization of it 2 days ago, and I had already grafted under the arms. I tend to do this kind of thing as I go so that I'm not left with the finishing at the end, because I know myself. I can have a garment wait for ages, you know, all the knitting is done and then it just sits around because I can't be bothered to sew in the ends or graft the, you know, underarms or that kind of thing. So, yes, so I was in rather a panic, and I was rather heartbroken because, again, this has a lot of meaning. It is a lot of knitting as well. It was a lot of effort, and I really wanted this for, you know, Edinburgh, which is in 3 weeks now. So I looked on Instagram, on Ravelry, I searched the stashes. Obviously no one had this for sale or trade in their stash, because obviously this is a very special yarn. It was a limited edition, it sold out rather fast. And I think that was 2 years ago, I believe. I guess so. So what I eventually did was search for people's projects and see if by any chance someone had used this but, you know, had been really precise in entering their total needed, and if I could see that there might be some left from their skein. And so I got really cheeky, and so I found a project, a beautiful colourwork sweater actually, and I was really cheeky and I messaged this knitter, and I'm not going to name her because I'm not sure if she wants to be named here. I'll check with her for my next podcast. I messaged her, so that was 2 nights ago, and I explained to her my conundrum, and that you know, I was going to run out of yarn. I just need maybe 20 grams, and if she had by chance any left, and if by chance she would be okay with you know, with me buying it from her, and I would obviously completely understand if she wouldn't. And she replied to me, I think within the hour, and said yes, she had some left and she would be very happy to send it over to me. And then she emailed, and she was at work, so she messaged me again in the evening. She had actually found the yarn and she was going to send it to me really fast. And she doesn't even want me to pay for it. So isn't that just the most wonderful story ever? I mean, doesn't that just confirm how amazing our community of knitters are, how amazing knitters can be, and you know, generous and kind. She doesn't know me at all. I was really cheeky, you know, I really felt like intruding. And yeah, and you know, she is such a very kind soul, and she's going to save me, save this project, save this sweater for me. So it means this pullover is going to be even more special now, because it's going to have extra kindness in it, and I'm going to think about this every time I wear it, really. So yes, that's the whole story of this sweater. But yeah, so once I'm done knitting this, I will be waiting for the extra yarn to arrive, and hopefully I'll finish it for Edinburgh. But I'm pretty confident I will manage to finish it. So yes, to be continued. But yeah, that was just such an amazing story, and it just brightened my whole week so completely, really. So yeah, if you're watching, I'm not sure you will, but if you're watching, thank you so very much for being so wonderfully kind. So yes, lastly, for my last project, I cast on something yesterday in the train, because I just didn't feel like lugging this along yesterday on the train. And so I cast on a little test knit that I'm doing for my friend Marianne, who is Margonnet Designs on Ravelry. And I test knit a couple of little girls' pullovers for her last autumn. And so this time she asked me if I would be willing to test the doll's size in her new cardigan, in her upcoming cardigan. It's a lovely children's cardigan with a lace panel along both fronts, and it's knit in a sports weight. And so I cast this on yesterday. Obviously it's not much, but yesterday evening. But yeah, so I am knitting this on size 3.5mm needles, which is again size 4. I did knit the, so you have first of all a twisted rib edging, and I did this with 3.25mm needles. And I'm using yarn from Old Stash, which is Lang Superwash, Merino Superwash, and it's the 125. So they have a whole range of Merino Superwash in a variety of weights, and the sports weight / DK, I guess, is the 125. It's called 125, which I think probably has to do with there must be 125 yards or meters in this rather. So yes, so yeah, it's a lovely light bluish blue. That's really lovely, isn't it? Greyish blue. And I'm not sure yet who of my kids is going to claim this, because my son adores dolls and he's constantly cuddling dolls. We actually got him a doll for Christmas because my daughter is very generous with sharing her own toys with him, but she did want to have her own, to reclaim her own favourite doll, so we did get him a similar kind of doll for Christmas. Which means, of course, now he just is cuddling both dolls at the same time. So, yeah. Yeah, but yeah, I think he would be quite excited. Or, you know, I think it will be for both kids to play with. Obviously, he's much too small to be actually putting garments on dolls. So my daughter, his sister, could help him. You know, could play with the garment, the cardigan, and then he could play with the doll. We'll see. But yeah, so nice little project. I'm hoping to be done with this really, really soon. So yes, so that is it for my current projects. And I feel I've been talking for quite a while, so I did want to mention my Make 9 projects with you, just the way I did for my sewing. I do also have a Make 9 list for my knitting. All that being said, well, I really don't want this podcast to be overly long. There are definitely some projects that I want to buy yarn for at Edinburgh. And so I've made a list in my bullet journal of, I am currently compiling a list in my bullet journal of, you know, pairing designs with possible yarn choices that I can find at the Edinburgh Yarn Festival, which is just such a joy to do, really. But yeah, apart from my Make 9 projects, you know, the key for me this year is really to knit some colourwork sweaters. So many gorgeous designs have been published, and there's such an engouement for them at the moment. And so I would have liked to do this much earlier in the year. I was really hoping to record a knitting podcast much earlier in the year. But I was actually thinking of, you know, making this year of feral that is going to be for me more, you know, to share this with you as well, to maybe make a year-long knit-along. You know, so that people like me who are just dipping their toes into colour work can join and be encouraged, or obviously also people who are just constantly knitting gorgeous colour work designs can also join. So yes, I was thinking of just hosting a year-long knit-along involving colour work garments. And I'm definitely thinking of prizes and you know, to make things really fun, and also because I really love you know, putting together some prizes for you, and it's just such a wonderful, really fun and wonderful and warm, heartwarming thing to do, really. So yes, so I think I'll open a thread in our Ravelry group so that we can all share our projects, our plans and our projects. I'm not even sure I'll have an FO thread because, yeah, maybe I'll have an FO thread, but also I will definitely be drawing amongst the chatter thread, because the aim here is really to encourage ourselves and not put pressure on ourselves. I think we have more than enough pressure in our daily lives, don't you think? So yes, I just wanted to move on really fast now to Happy Mail Day, because I did get some scrumptious yarn in the mail over the past couple of months. So first off, and that is really not reasonable, because as you may guess, I was planning on not buying yarn at all, you know, from the end of 2018 to Edinburgh, to the Edinburgh Yarn Festival. But I was fortunate enough to have the opportunity to purchase some Woolen Vine yarns, and I adore Kristin's yarns, and I've been wistfully looking at her updates for years and years and years, and it's been years since I last managed to catch an update. So it just felt like it would be completely stupid to just pass on the opportunity just because of the Edinburgh Yarn Festival. First of all, Kristin recently came out with a new colourway that is completely her, which is her mauve colourway, and if you know Kristin, of course you know she completely adores mauve. Mauve? I want to say mauve because that's pretty much the way you say it in French. In French you say mauve. And it is a French word to start with, isn't it? But anyway, I'm not the one to say, obviously, how it should be pronounced, because I'm not a native English speaker. But anyway, she just found her perfect shade of mauve, and here it is. This is called Woolen Vine number 9 colourway, and I love it as well very, very much. I think it's such a flattering colourway as well, you know. So this is the Nouveau base, which is her singles base, and so I have 2 skeins of this, and I'm thinking of making the Tegna by Boyland Knitworks out of this. Boyland Knitworks is very famous. She designed the Birkin sweater or the Zweig sweater as well. She's also the one who designed the Sunset Highway pullover, which everyone seems to be knitting at the moment. Well, one of these anyway. But I really, really love her Tegna, and actually Kristin gifted me the pattern for Christmas, so it's going to be an all-over Kristin project, this one, and I'm very, very excited about it. I may not be knitting it straight away though, because it's a bottom-up sweater again, so yeah, I may wait a little, but yeah, I'm very, very excited about this anyway. And then I was very, very fortunate to get also one of my other favourite colourways by Kristin, which is her I Am No Bird colourway, and ever since she came out with this I've just been lusting after it. So let me focus again. So yes, here it is. It's absolutely stunning. And actually it goes super, super well with the mauve, so yeah, that might be a lovely combination. I'm not sure I will go this way though, because I really have, you know, I really would like to knit a sweater out of this. So yeah, I'm not sure. We'll see. Maybe they will, you know, become something together. I'm not sure. But yeah, in any case, I was just so happy to have been able to purchase this. And Kristin was so very kind and actually gave me this skein, the 4th skein, which was so very generous and so very special. So Kristin, thank you so very, very, very much for this. I'm just completely over the moon. So this is the single space as well, the Nouveau base. So yes, if you can manage to grab an update from Kristin, just run for it really, because her yarn is really very, very special. So yeah, that was a very cheeky, very naughty purchase, but I have absolutely no regrets, because that feels like 1 in a 3 years opportunity for me to be able to get some of Kristin's yarn. So that's completely okay, and I'm really, really excited about it. So lastly, I was also completely surprised with an incredibly kind gift from a friend, who is actually Marianne, whom I mentioned earlier, because I'm test knitting for her again. And Marianne has, you know, gorgeous children. We definitely have the same colour sense. You know, I really love the yarns that she always chooses. And she was destashing some of her yarn on Instagram. And I commented on some of her yarn and saying that I absolutely loved the colour, and it was the uncommon thread. So very, very, you know, it's gorgeous yarn, British yarn. And she, a few days later, I was completely flabbergasted, because I actually received the yarn in my mailbox. And so at first I was really concerned, actually. I thought I had actually, you know, mistakenly purchased it, because I'd actually commented on it. But then I thought that was quite strange, because I never sent money. So no, it turns out that was just an incredibly generous gift on her part. So the colour is not quite right on the screen, sadly. It looks a lot more blue than it really is. Yeah, hopefully that will know. It looks really more blue on the screen than it really is. It really is the gorgeous peacock blue. Absolutely stunning, and again, very, very much my favourite colours. And so imagine receiving 3 skeins of this. I basically can knit any garment out of 3 skeins of fingering weight yarn. So this is the Uncommon Everyday, which is 100% merino wool. And the colourway is Pontus, not sure. Yeah, to me this is peacock, but yeah. But yeah, it's completely stunning, and so it's very exciting for me to have a new sweaters quantity of such a gorgeous colourway in my stash, and I'm just dreaming of all the possibilities, all of this, you know, all that this could become really. So I'm incredibly grateful. I'm telling you, really, knitters have been so incredibly kind and generous, and just have really made my life much happier, really. You know, that is the case pretty much all the time, but the past couple of months especially more so, really. So yes, I did want to include a little bit of chatter at the end, but I feel this episode is already quite long, and also Seb keeps texting me because apparently he needs me very urgently, so I think I'm going to just call it a day, and thank you so very, very much for watching today and for being here, spending your time with me. I do hope you enjoyed. If you're attending Edinburgh, the Edinburgh Yarn Festival, please do pop over to the Ravelry group and let me know, because I would really, really very much want to say hi and to chat with you, and to just be a little bit aware, you know, of who will be there, and yeah. Yeah, until next time, happy knitting, happy making, friends. I do hope you're all really, really well, all keeping really warm in the Northern Hemisphere. And yeah, until next time, friends, I hope you can make something that brings you joy. Bye bye.